everyone, welcome back to FemSTEM, the podcast where we are dedicated to bridging the gender gap in STEM fields by spotlighting remarkable women making waves in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. I'm your host, Risha Mehta, and today's episode is a really special one. Today on FemSTEM, we are joined by Mengke Zhan, a physicist and an R&D engineer specializing in fluid dynamics. With a PhD under her belt, she has made significant strides in advancing multi-phase flow measurement technologies. More on that later in the episode. She has also published in top-tier journals and holds several patents for innovative sensor designs. Let's hear more about this from herself. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm incredibly excited to talk to you and learn more about what you do.
Thank you so much, Lisa, for the introduction. Yeah, I'm very looking forward to talking to you as well.
So to start off, can you walk us through your career journey in STEM? How did you get into the field of physics and then fluid dynamics, really?
Okay, sure. As a start, I studied aerospace engineering in Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. So during my 4 years in NTU, I explored a lot of different research topics. So starting from year one, I started in a lab with robotics. So I was working on a project with robotics application to advance table tennis auto coaching. And then in lab two, in my year two, I joined another research program, which is more on the chemistry physics side, working on the nanoparticles. And then in year three, I started this CFD project with one of my supervisor. So it's about combustion. Okay, so after exploring different aspects of research topics, personally, I felt that CFD, or the full name is computational fluid dynamics, is the area that I'm really interested in. So I decided to maybe delve deeper into that. So as a basically, I also chose my FYP final year project related to the CFD topic. So after I complete my study in NTU, I continue my study in Imperial College London. So because this is one of the birthplace for the computational fluid dynamics. Yeah, so I further my research in the Imperial College, and I was working on this project on a suit related methodology, basically to study how different size of particle of soot can be formed, and how does it impact, for example, aircraft propulsion and different applications. Yeah, so after my master's in Imperial College, I found out this opportunity in my PhD, which is a collaboration between the NTU, Nanyang Technological University, and also SLB, or previously known as Schlumberger. This project is also a fluid dynamics application, but it's more on the energy industry, particularly in this multi-phase flow meter development. So this is basically how I landed in my current STEM job. So basically, it's through a lot of exploring during my university years, and finally found something that I felt is really interesting to me. Yes.
Damn, that was really all the research projects just piled up on top of each other and showed you your passion. It's really nice to see that. So, but why do you choose to go into the STEM field first? Like, what was the inspiration behind choosing the STEM field, really?
Oh, okay. So, in my education, even the early education like secondary school or JC, I felt that I'm more interested in general in physics and maths than let's say the art subject. So I relate more to science and maths, and I thought, yeah, maybe this is something that is more suitable to me. Yeah. So first of all is interest, and also I'm quite curious about how things work in general. Okay, so I think it's also this curiosity that sparked me to choose this STEM career. Yeah, at let's say even in the earlier stage of my education.
Damn.
Mm.
So, you mentioned like right now you are doing CFD and doing more computational fluid dynamic work in the energy segment. So, what would be
Mm.
some really interesting projects that you have worked on that is showcases what exactly you like do in your day-to-day job?
Okay, so maybe I will take one of my CFD one of the small CFD project as an illustration. Okay, so we know that sometimes we need to do experiments. Okay, and then experiments that can be quite expensive, depends on the logistics you need, and also the test rig. Sometimes they can be quite big size, so it will be quite challenging to basically experiment on this big size test rig in the lab. Okay, so in order to let's say reduce the cost, one of the CFD project that I was working on is to do a scaling study. So what this means is that we can have a small size, let's say small size test rig, and we have a scale up size test rig. Okay, so basically they are similar in geometry, but just of different dimensions. So I will perform CFD simulations in this small size dimension and the big size dimension. Okay, and after the CFD simulations, will analyze the results to see what are the let's say the key dimensionless numbers. So because in the fluid dynamics, we always talk about the dimensionless number. For example, if we talk about Reynolds number, it's an indication of the turbulence. So if let's say the two fluid has similar dimensionless number, it means that they might have similar physics behavior. So basically, the purpose of this CFD project is to identify those key dimensionless number to be kept constant between the small size test rate and the big size test rate. So once we are able to keep this dimensionless number the same between the small size one and the big size one, we can actually scale down from the big size test rate to the small size test rate. So meaning that we will be able to reduce the cost for experiments and even do something that is not possible, let's say in a lab. Okay, by just keeping this dimensionless number constant, and we will analyze results and scale up the results. Yeah, so this is one of the example of the CFD work that I was working on.
Damn, that sounds really, really exciting, and it has like practical impact
Mhm.
on the world. So,
Mhm.
so is that what you do day to day? Like you work on one project and then you go on to another, or
Mhm.
how else?
Also, mhm. Okay, so usually it's let's say a mix of both. So usually I will be working on let's say a long-term, relatively long-term project that can last maybe even 4 to 5 years. So that will be a long-term development project. So for example, if we are developing a new product, okay, this development cycle can last let's say 4 to 5 years, and shorter one maybe 1 to 2 years. Okay, but at the side there are also some of the small tasks. So for example, because we are an energy company, so sometimes there's this request from the field to test a certain, let's say a certain product. So I need to also respond quickly to that request. So it's let's say a mix of both. And at the site, we are also working on some of the other tasks. For example, we have this job shadowing program in our company SLB. So we will show the secondary school students, for example, students who came to visit us recently are from Raffles Girls School, and it's also from ITE and also NTU. We will show them how basically what our daily job is like. Yeah, so that they get the sense of STEM career in the company. So yeah, so basically it will be a mix of the long-term project and also the short-term task.
Damn, that so it's a very innovative, ever-changing field, really.
Mm.
So when you take like a 5 year long project, what entails in that? Like, is it just the R&D aspect that takes 5 years? And what are the stages?
Uh, Yes, there are actually quite a lot of components in it. So R&D is definitely a part of it. And also, I think the project manager, they need to manage the cost of the project as we go on. Yeah, because at the beginning, it might be difficult to foresee basically how the development path will go. So sometimes we will also face some of the, let's say, budget challenges. Yeah, so the project manager has to handle that, and also at the same time, I think the business side has to also handle the let's say the to do a research in the market and handle client requests. And we have to coordinate to see what is the lead time required before we let's say bring this product into the market. Yeah, so there are a lot of different teams working together to make this happen. Yeah, so it's not just about the R&D, but also different teams in the company.
Got it. So, I read how your work also involves developing CFD models for multi-phase flow meters. So, what is multi-phase flow meter? Like, I've never heard of it really before.
Oh, so yeah, so basically a multi-phase flow meter is like a basically it's a meter, right? By its name, so a meter measures something. So in the, let's say, in the oil and gas field, the clients, they want to monitor the flow rates of their production. So for example, they want to know how much oil, how much water, how much gas they have from their production. So traditionally, how they do it is that there's a test separator. Basically, so you can imagine it as a tank. Okay, so all the production fluid will go into a tank, and then they will separate by density. So basically, water is of highest density. They will be at the bottom. Oil, it will be middle, and then gas, of course, it's lightest. So it will, let's say, be on the top. Okay, so it's by this density separation that the client will be able to measure their, let's say, production. So the multi-phase flow meter is an innovation that try to replace this test separator. So basically, it's a much smaller size compared to a test separator. So you can connect this multi-phase flow meter to the pipe. Okay, and then it will give you the real-time reading. So basically, every let's say a few seconds, you will get a reading. So this is different from a test separator where you maybe only get one reading after a day or even longer. Okay, so the advantage of this multi-phase flow meter to the test separator is, of course, the first is much small in size, so it can help to save environmental costs. Okay, and then it's also much faster. Okay, so it can give a client a real-time reading. Okay, not a reading after a day or so. So this is some of the advantage of the multi-phase flow meter. So it has been marketed for quite some time, but now there are still like new development in this technology, which use a different kind of measurement techniques. Yeah, with the objective of try to reduce the carbon footprint and improve the measurement accuracy, so and so on. So this is let's say a brief introduction of the multi-phase flow meter.
Damn, it has a lot of benefits as I see, and it also helps the environment. So it's just benefit all over. So, like you mentioned, you researched a lot and published a lot of research paper and also filed patents. So, can you share more about that? Is like research your main key thing in your field as a physicist? Like, if I want to be one, is research the way to go?
Okay, so I would say publishing a paper, I think it's basically, I would say it's a more maybe it's more important if you are in the field of academia. Okay, so when I say that, I mean if you are working in a university or if you're working on a research institute, that will be really important to showcase what the let's say what a contribution your lab has made. Okay, in this field. So publishing research paper and presenting in the international conference will be, let's say, the most popular or most common ways of share the research contributions. Okay, and then but then if you are working in the industry, sometimes the emphasis is not that much on the publication. So first of all, yeah, we know that, let's say, different companies, they have their trade secrets, right? So they might not want to publish everything, okay? But then inside the company, usually they will have this you might not publish everything that you researched in a company, but you can share your contributions with your colleagues in the company. So that will be of a small scale. Okay, so in terms of how important it is to become a physicist, I mean, publications, I would say it will be, let's say, important if you want to be a research scientist, especially in a research institute and university. But if you want to be an industry physicist, for example, like myself, it's not a must that you publish the papers, because it's a, let's say the paper is just an indication of the maybe the amount of research you did. But then more importantly is that you showcase your curiosity, your ability to let's say, to think out of the box. And then creativity, I think that is a more important thing than having some papers published and being able to present in conferences.
Yeah, thanks for the advice. So, just a question popped up in my mind. What was so unique and interesting about CFD that you chose that in particular? Like while you were studying and researching in NTU, what was so like captivating for you?
Mm. Yeah, I think first of all, I think CFD is a very powerful tool. So because the fluid is a very, let's say, a very complex topic. So when we talk about fluid, usually we think about, let's say, liquid like water, oil. That's what we think about. But then it actually comprises much more than that. So for example, air, particles, they can also be a part of the there's also under the scope of the fluids when we talk about CFD. So that actually make this tool very powerful. So if we use CFD, we can simulate a lot of things without having to do costly experiment. For example, even in the aerospace industry, when they design the shape of the airfoil, they use the CFD to do some experiment first to find out what is the optimal shape that will give you, let's say, the maximum lift or a better efficiency. Okay, so this is a very useful tool. And also, what I felt very interesting is that if you know the Navier-Stokes equation, which is actually the governing equation when we do the CFD simulations, this is one of the millennium questions. So the analytical solution to the NS equation has yet to be solved even till today. So yeah, so basically if you solve, you maybe get $1 million more. Yeah, but yeah, so it's actually a very interesting topic. So but then even though it doesn't have analytical solution, it has numerical solution. So basically numerical solution is that if you use methods such as partial difference, finite difference, finite volume, this kind of method, you can get the numerical solutions to the CFD. Okay, so this numerical solutions to the CFD, even though it cannot be compared with the analytical solution, since that is not available yet, but when comparing to the experiments, it's very accurate. So meaning that it's actually valid to a certain extent, I would say, but yeah, but the equations itself is so complicated that the 3D analytical solution is not available. Yeah, so I think its usefulness and also the challenges that it's embedded is something that attracts me to this field. Yeah.
So moving on to the next aspect, which is the woman in STEM aspect of my podcast, Ravi. But before that, I wanted to do a quick rapid fire type question round with you, if it's okay. So, the first is just simple questions. You can say the first thing that pops up in your mind. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
If you were a physicist, if you weren't a physicist, which profession would you choose? Really?
Maybe musician.
Yeah. What is your favorite book, podcast, TV show, etc.?
My favorite book is Being Mortal. So it talks about the important decisions you need to make before death. Yeah.
Yeah. What is your go-to productivity hack?
To set the timer, I think, for every task that I do.
What's your favorite scientific discovery of all time?
Every scientific discovery. Well, that's a very tough question. Yeah, because there are so many interesting ones.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll.
Mm.
Yes.
No, continue.
Yeah, maybe I share something that I felt is very interesting to me. So there's a book that I read which is about sleep, more sleeping. Okay, and then it talk about how our brain actually during our sleep, so it will filter information, so it will only store those important ones, and then it will remove those let's say trivial ones. So that's why, for example, when you think about the past, you don't remember maybe last week Monday what you ate, but then you remember, let's say you had an appointment with someone. So this is very actually there's a very complex mechanism behind the those sleep. They call themselves sleep scientists, I believe. So they do research on this type, which I feel is very interesting.
Oh, damn, that's actually really interesting. So, next question: are you an early bird or a night owl?
Maybe more towards now.
One piece of advice you wish you had received when you were starting your career?
The important advice I received when I started my career, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
And what's the next big thing that you think will change the world?
Wow, next big thing. Yeah, I know it's a very I think maybe most of people will say that, but yeah, I think it's the artificial intelligence.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So, I'll be asking some question regarding the woman in STEM aspect. What's the gender gap looking like and all that.